So what's up guys, I'm Dimitri with HardwareCanucks, and I gotta tell you, it's never a dull moment here when it comes to cases in the studio. One day it's unboxing $900 enclosures, another is reviewing something that has a dragon on it. But you know, when it comes to Fractal Design, you know, it's always a familiar experience, which is seen both in a good way and sort of a bad way. It's like, where are they going? It's gonna be exactly the same case with a few minor modifications. It looks like they got the memo on the power supply shroud, but Define C and Define Mini C, I'm more excited about the Mini C because it's a good progression on where we see 2017 going with introduction of micro ATX enclosures and really focusing on that aspect, something that's been really omitted from the case industry. So let's take a look at these two cases right after a message from our sponsor.
Cooler Master Keys keyboard lineup is now available in 3 sizes to fit within your space, with large, medium and small boards with either beautiful RGB or pure white LED illumination. A little something for everyone. Make it yours with the Master Keys Pro by Cooler Master.
So really the iteration of the Define series, it's always been so familiar and so identical, and you know, it's a really good way to keep the consumer in line to their expectations. Nothing's weird happening, and just we're seeing a little bit of updates here and there. And Define C is like a little upgrade to the Define S, which was a little upgrade to the R5 series and the R4 before it and the R3 before it, and you get the idea. This is the time when the shock comes around usually. Okay, no, I'm fine. 1 and 2. Size-wise, they're actually not that big of a difference. Obviously, the micro ATX board is not that much larger from an ATX board, but still, it's a little bit on the Define Mini side. It's much smaller. Still the same elegant design. So let's dive right in.
Alright, so the first thing I want to cover is the price. That is very competitive for both cases, and the $5 premium for the windowed model is reasonable. I think what Fractal Design has done is a brilliant example of frame efficiency, and launching the Define C and together with the Mini C highlights an important trend for 2017. The reason I praise this new frame design is because they managed to minimize the size as much as possible while still catering to the current builder. You can say the frame is boring and looks way too similar to previous Define cases, but it actually comes with plenty of interior upgrades and makes for one of the best building experiences for its size. So here is the Define C next to the S340 and the H440, and notice how the Define C is much shorter compared to an already compact S340, but interestingly, you can see the case feet on the Define C are much shorter, and the frame itself is much lower to the ground, thus creating this super compact frame without losing the cooling potential.
So I would say the closest competitor to the Define C would be the S340 Elite from NZXT, perhaps not the Elite version because the tempered glass, it's a bit more expensive, but I guess it would be only a matter of time until we see something with tempered glass from Fractal Design, the only company up to now that hasn't released anything with TG. In terms of these two cases, let us know if you want to see like a direct head-to-head comparison. If you're on the fence between picking these two up, let me know in the comments down below.
And I love that the frame is practically identical, as the cases are the same width and depth, come with identical feet and that staple brushed plastic front panel that doesn't leave any handling marks, and both come with dual 120mm fans, one for intake and one for exhaust, with the same new power supply shroud that has a slight angular position for the top to create this unique separation, and a slightly refined interior layout where the motherboard tray is embedded further into the chassis, where the surrounding area accommodates for easy cable management, plus an open frame around the PCI brackets to allow for a screwdriver to fit in no problem. Furthermore, a full bottom dust filter is easily removable from the front that has a fine mesh with an adequately deep side ventilation at the front to let air through for intake. So the only difference here is the height, with the Mini C having 5 PCI brackets for micro ATX builds, while the Define C is a standard 7 PCI slot frame, making it slightly taller but not by much. The thumb screws on both side panels are captive, that's awesome, with a dense layer of foam-like material applied to the front, the top and the rear side panels, making them quite heavy and feeling extra sturdy, but I do question their purpose and if they're supposed to dampen any noise from the system or just there for our perceived benefits. The front filter is easily removable with the grills angled down, that is meant to help with noise isolation, but the filter is especially bulky, something that I don't like that will for sure prevent some airflow intake. But the included dynamic fan is supposed to deliver a good balance between airflow, air pressure, and noise performance, with the Defiant C giving us more fan options because of the taller frame, but the Mini C does not lag behind, with excellent front cooling options for its size. Top cooling options for such a narrow frame are pretty good, with properly offset mounts away from the motherboard, with the top cover pre-installed that is a single piece, unlike the multi-mod vent systems we've seen in the past, that now includes a full dust filter in case you're installing any fans at the top. Thank you for listening to our advice. This is how it should be done. The I/O is bare. I wish we had more USB ports, but the power button is super satisfying to press. Take a listen. With a nice ambient blue LED shining through the front. Now, this being Fractal's first power supply shroud, they've done a fantastic job. First with the ventilation around the PSU and the removable front plate to expand your front air or water cooling options. It's super easy to remove and simply slide the hard drive underneath away from the front panel to make room for radiators or fans, giving you up to 60 millimeters of clearance until the frame, and that does limit your PSU clearance also to about 150 millimeters, but the drive cage can also be removed completely if needed, which has 2 metal drive caddies, by the way, for HDD or SSD. I really do appreciate the efficiency of the rear layout with an additional SSD bracket with 3 drives that also has a captive thumb screw, and a very good frame design for cable management that routes everything through the larger spacing at the front, thus eliminating cable concentration in the middle. And these Velcro cable hoops are the best I've seen so far, that have 3 points of contact and allow these dual loops to be created and let you separate small versus large cables with ease. And this is by far the easiest case to work in with regards to cable management in this form factor, because of that additional spacing in the front of the enclosure and how these rubber grommets are angled with the frame. So starting with the build, motherboard standoffs are not installed, but a handy tool is included along with the middle extension to catch the motherboard. So with our 30mm radiator and a set of fans installed at the front, not much clearance is left between the 10.5-inch GPU, so you'll be able to squeeze in 11-inch card, no problem, but a push-pull is out of question for such a tight interior. But I love the way the cables exit out of the grommets that are perfectly angled for the motherboard, but strangely there are no additional cutouts on the shroud for GPU cables, something I feel would have benefited the cleanliness of the build. I also wish the radiator mount would be slightly more flexible to position it a bit lower, but that is the lowest fan location at the top, just to create a little bit more symmetry on the inside, or to allow for additional spacing or clearance if the top fan slots are occupied with a radiator. But I do love the shroud design, and I'm sure many Defiant S owners would love something modular that they can install to achieve a similar layout. And also, to finish up with cable management, as I said earlier, this was the easiest build to clean up, with many cable tie hoops in proper strategic locations, and that front section to help guide those thick cables into the main chamber with fantastic Velcro straps. In the end, all the cables were flat, so closing the panel did not require any additional force. On the inside, I kept the top panel closed because the case is not really high enough for comfortable top radiator installation, so what you see here with that front AIO would be, I would say, a more popular approach, and if you're air cooling, I would stick to this horizontal air direction without any top fans.
We do have a bit of a surprise giveaway, so follow the link in the description below to get a chance to win a brand new Defiant C or Defiant Mini C, so good luck.
And at $85, the Defiant C is one of the best mid towers on the market right now, although it still doesn't touch the extra features found on the P400S from Fantex, but it might be a better option compared to the S340, for example. So thanks to all the needed upgrades, we're giving it the HardwareCanucks Damn Good Value Award. Oh hey there, NCX.com is Canada's leading e-tailer for anything your mind desires. Just keep within those categories, which are plenty, and get tempted by the weekly deals. Visit ncx.com for all them sweet deals.
So guys, thank you so much for watching this review of Defiant C and Defiant Mini C. I'm actually quite happy with everything that they've done to improve these enclosures. The incremental upgrades on the interior really add up to make it competitive. The only thing that's missing is TG. Give us a tempered glass edition so they stay competitive with other competitive TG editions from other brands. But I'm really curious to see if more people gravitate towards the micro ATX builds because now of this presence of defined Mini C on the market. So let us know if this is something that people are interested in. I'm Dimitri with HardwareCanucks. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.